Okay, this video is Internist conversation number 29. So if you just search the playlist, you'll see I've got tons of conversations with internal medicine doctor. Okay, this is number 29, and it'll just be conversations that we sort of run into. And he says to me, I bumped into him recently, he says, oh, how I wish I knew about this low-fat vegan diet years ago. I could have helped so many people. So many wasted opportunities. I said, yeah, same thing for me. I could have saved my father. I could have saved my mother and lots of other people, my girlfriend's mom. I didn't know. I used to just say, go to the specialist. I didn't even imagine that I could read a field and learn it better than the specialist. Internist, yeah, it's sad. And I finally learned all this stuff about low-fat vegan diet and know how to help people, and then most of the patients don't want to hear it. You don't get paid for it. You end up having to stay late at work. And me, yeah. But at least if you tell the patient the right thing to do and they fail, then it's their fault. It's not yours for being ignorant. Internist, yeah. He says, and I notice the other internists, they have zero interest in this stuff. Some of them, it's because they're oblivious. They just don't know about it, you know. But even the ones, you know, who are the real smart ones, they don't care, you know. And I said, yeah, I know. With conventional medicine, that's what they had to learn in school. That's what they learned in residency. That's what they get tested on their boards. That's what the standard drug protocols are all based on. That's what's in all the journals, the conventional journals. So to them, that's the whole world. They're not even aware that nutrition, epidemiology, toxicology literature exists. They don't know any of that stuff. EMF, the stress literature, all that stuff, the dental literature, all of it is completely outside of their sphere of knowledge. And the internist goes, yeah, when I look back on my career, and by the way, they're paid to do standard drug protocols, and that's what keeps them out of trouble. They can't get sued for malpractice as long as they're following the standard protocol, even if the standard protocol is stupid. Internist, yeah, I look back on my career and I wondered, what have we really accomplished? I mean, I'm sad to say it, he says, but I don't think we made hardly any difference at all. We haven't advanced the field at all. We just prescribe the same stupid drugs, and the patients are doing worse than ever. We're getting crappier outcomes than we got in the 1980s. There's been no progress. The patients are still dying left and right of the same stuff. Hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, kidney failure, COPD, cancer. You know, it's like almost nothing's changed. There's been almost zero progress in the treatment of all those diseases, and autoimmune disease too. And he says, you know, Pete, I tried to do the best I could for my patients as best I knew. I tried to be a good teacher to all the residents, but I really admire what you're doing, Pete. You're studying diseases and treatments from all the available angles, like nutrition, toxicology, EMF, sunshine, stress, all that stuff, and religion. And, you're making a difference, at least for the very few people who actually read your work or watch your videos. But at least it's out there. You're keeping the truth alive. And I said, yeah, I know, all this stuff. I'm good at all the stuff that doesn't make any money. I said, also, I think the benefit of religion is really underestimated. And I said, one thing I've wondered about lately is, why are Muslim men so confident and proud and motivated to celebrate and speak up for Islam, but Christian men, in comparison, are sort of wimpified and pussified and don't defend Christianity or Western civilization? Internist, yeah, I know what you mean. They're very proud of Islam. They pray something like 5 times a day. And me, I'm like, and I wonder why. You know what? The average Christian man, he's like a feminized wimp. Don't get me wrong, they're not all like that, but they very often are. Or they're drifting into atheism or multiculturalism, all this BS from the public schools. They don't defend Christianity. They don't defend Western civilization. It's being destroyed all over the world. And I said, but you look at the average Muslim man. He's masculine. He's confident. He's proud of Islam. He praises it all the time. But Christian culture is so much better. Christian culture is better in every way that I can think of. It has better painting, better architecture, better literature, better sculpture, better universities, better scientists, prettier women, better technology, better charities, better music. Anything I can think of, Christianity is better than that. You know, internist. But no, it's not. He said the Muslim men, they've got better control of their families, better control of their wives. Their women want to have children. The Christian woman wants to be a feminist and be promiscuous. The Muslim women, they're not as promiscuous as Christian women. And he says, the Muslim man, they have better marriages. The wife's less likely to divorce him. Those guys are even allowed to have multiple wives. Maybe that's why they like Islam better. Okay? And he says lots of Muslim women, they like Muslim men, they like to have sex with Christian girls when they're young, sort of high school, college age, grad school age even, and then they go on and they marry a Muslim woman. And I said, yeah, I've seen that before. I also saw Andrew Tate, and he said that he thought in the future Islam was the only religion that was going to survive. And I don't know exactly why he said it. I think it was something to do with that it's the only religion still defended by men, or something like that, versus Christianity. It's like, even though it has the greatest culture and civilization that has ever existed on this planet, by far, there's nothing even close except the ancient Greeks, it's not defending itself, it's allowing itself to be destroyed. Internist. Well, anyways, I'm glad you're writing nutrition and health books and making videos, keeping the truth alive, but you're getting old. And so far, I don't see any younger doctors willing or able to take over when you are gone. And I know you get totally shadow banned and ostracized. They're never going to let you become famous. Me, well, hopefully I'll be around a long time. I'm only, 63. Dr. McDougall was 77, and he died earlier than we expected. And the internist is like, well, he was totally mentally sharp up until the last moment. I'm like, yeah. And that's the big thing about the low-fat vegans. They're mentally sharp much longer. The average, Mediterranean diet, standard American diet, they're fat, sick, and stupid by the time they're about 60. And he goes, yeah, these patients are routinely cognitive declined, and then it's too late to help them. They're just hopeless, he says. Yeah, and it's sad, we never cure anybody with drugs. We never cure any hypertension, diabetes, kidney failure, autoimmune disease. None of it, coronary artery disease, none of it is cured with disease. And he says the other thing he says to me, he goes, you pointed out, why would anybody be given a choice of eat a salad, eat a potato, or go for open heart surgery, a cabbage, coronary bypass grafts, and get a chainsaw on their freaking sternum? Why would anybody rather have a buzzsaw opening up their sternum and implanting, bypass on their heart when they could just eat a freaking salad and a potato? It's so obvious. Why wouldn't anybody do that? And I said, yeah. And Esselstyn says about the same thing. People call the vegan diet extreme, but then they don't think it's extreme to have their chest ripped open and have their arteries and their veins clipped onto their chest. Like, that's not extreme. I go, yeah, it's insane. But it's just considered normal to have that done, whereas it's considered strange to get the vegan diet, and people go by that rather than using their brain to think about it. And he's like, yeah, well, it's frustrating, but I'm going to, just keep on learning, doing the best I can. Oh, and he asked me too, he said, well, which one of your books do you think is the most sophisticated book you ever read? And I'd say I think it's my book on chronic fatigue syndrome. Because my book on chronic fatigue syndrome, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder. All these famous guys from Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, and then the Germans and the University of Alabama, they're all getting all this prestige and fame for teaching about chronic fatigue syndrome, and I figured it out better than them. So I wanted to write that book so they would read it, because I know practically nobody's going to read that book except for those guys. It's also about how to prevent Parkinson's disease, and really how to prevent dementia, too. I went through added all this information about how you prevent dementia, much more advanced stuff than I put in any of my other books. Food, Mood, and IQ was pretty advanced, too. But anyways, he goes, okay, yeah, I think I'll read that one because I got to make time for reading, and that would be something good, something a little challenging. And I said, yeah, well, I hope you enjoy it. And he said, all right, well, thanks. I'll see you later.